Welcome to Take 5. We're in John chapter 13, verse 1. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart out of this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. During supper, when the devil had already put it into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God, rose from supper. He laid aside his outer garments, and taking a towel, tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with a towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, do you wash my feet?" Jesus answered him, "What I am doing you do not understand now, but afterward you will understand." Peter said to him, "You shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "If I do not wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "The one who has bathed does not need to wash, except for his feet, but is completely clean, and you are clean, but not every one of you." For he knew who was to betray him. That was why he said, "Not all of you are clean." Let's stop there for a minute. Interesting, if you go back to the beginning of the chapter, here's what Jesus knew. He knew his hour had come. It means he's about to die. He was about to depart out of this world to the Father. He's going to go back to the Father. It says he loved his own who were in the world, talking about his disciples. It says he loved them to the end. So he'd given them as much love as he could give them. And it says the devil had already put it into Judas's heart to betray him. So Jesus knew all that. And he also knew the Father had given him all things into his hands. In other words, he had authority to do anything he wanted to do at this point. He had complete authority. So what does God, who has complete authority, choose to do for his people? It says he poured some water into a bowl. He got up, wrapped a towel around his waist, and he started washing their feet. The God who could do anything for anybody washes the disciples' feet. Now there's several points I want to make about this. First of all, it was common back in those days when you had somebody in your home to wash their feet. It was just something you did as a courtesy. Perhaps an equivalent would be what I like to do when I have people over. I offer them something to drink. Just, you know, if people have been traveling, they may be thirsty, so I offer something to drink. Well, back then, the biggest need they would have had would be for clean feet, because they didn't have paved roads. They wore open-toed shoes, so their feet would get dirty. So that was common. Well, apparently, none of these disciples had chosen to provide this common courtesy for one another, even at this point. So Jesus, doing anything he could do, having all authority, chooses to do something very common. And I think here's the reason why. He wanted to set an example that it's important for us to serve one another. It's important to be humble. I didn't keep reading, so let's keep reading. Verse 12, when he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said to them, "Do you understand what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you also should do just as I have done to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. I am not speaking to all of you. I know whom I have chosen, but the scripture will be fulfilled. He who ate my bread has lifted his heel against me. I am telling you this now before it takes place, that when it does take place, you may believe that I am he. Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever receives the one I send receives me, and whoever receives me receives the one who sent me." He's saying the reason I did this was in an example for you. I'm showing you how you're supposed to treat each other. And what he's saying is that he's saying, look, I'm your Lord, I'm your teacher. I shouldn't be, ordinarily you wouldn't think this is something I would do, but I want you to see this is what we're supposed to do for each other. And really, service is the greatest thing you could do for God or for anybody else. You know, he said the greatest among you will be your servant. You know, he said don't go for the positions of power. Try to serve one another. And that just simply means meeting whatever need they have. The need they had right then was to have their feet washed. Okay? And so that's what he chose to do. Now Peter tried to argue with him, saying, look, you know, wash my whole body. Jesus says you're not getting it. You just need your feet washed. You're clean. You know, not all of you though. Now he said Judas wasn't clean. That's what he was talking about. He didn't want to point it out and embarrass Judas. Of course, everybody figured it out later. All right. So, what is the main message here? This isn't real complicated. Just try to meet the needs of your brothers and sisters, and nothing is beneath you. Okay? I know some people that say, I'm not going to serve in children's ministry. Well, you don't have the heart of Jesus. Or I'm not going to do this, and you know, or do that. You know, I am so grateful. We have so many folks in the church I attend that really practice this, that just have the heart of service. It's the most serving congregation I've ever been a part of. Proud to be part of the Holland Park Church here in Simpsonville, South Carolina. Hopefully your church is that way, but if not, you be that way, okay? And set an example for everybody else. Hey, come back optimistically tomorrow, but we'll see on the next edition of Take 5.